What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We've been having some crazy winds and dust storm these last couple of days, and I actually took a day or so off because I didn't want to deal with all the dirt flying everywhere. You can see a lot of dirt caked up on the paint here. We're definitely going to have to clean this before we work with the engine bay. The wind is supposed to last for a couple of more days, and hopefully it dies down soon. Today it's a little bit less, so I'm trying to get some work done. I threw in a few clips of me taking off the other night to go meet up with my buddy Pez to check out his EJ1. He is turning that car into a 24-hour Lemons car, and it's going to be fully stripped. So he said, if I need anything for the interior, come by and take it all. I did show how the interior looked beforehand. This is more so the after. We have the carpet installed. Big shout out. We have the center consoles installed. That's going to have to come back off because the shifter and all that good jazz going there. We finally took the black dashboard out, which was actually more messed up than I thought. And then we installed all of the heater core stuff in the firewall and got the gray dashboard installed. I'm pretty stoked the interior is coming along and it's looking more and more like a real street car. And there's just a few more things I got to do, like obviously front seats, looking for a cargo cover, and I'm going to make a spare tire cover down low as well too. Now, in part of putting the heater control unit back into the firewall, I had to figure out where I was going to put the engine bay fuse box. Most people who do wire tuck, they put it in the glove box, which there are a ton of write-ups on. I decided to keep it in the engine bay for easy accessibility, and in part of the wiring harness for the fuse box, we have all of the headlight harness. So in today's video, we're going to wire tuck the headlight harness, which is sitting here, just so I can get the entire front end put back onto the car. I was supposed to do all the suspension stuff, but I think I'm just going to save that for when the wind dies down, because it is really cold, and if you're touching metal parts like that, it's going to make your hands even colder. If you know, you know. So I have the fuse box for the engine bay in the factory location. Couple of reasons: easily accessible with the fuses here, and I am going to be having the battery in the stock location as well. No relocation in this car, and it just makes it easier for the connection for the battery to go to the fuse box and such when it's sitting right here. The headlight harness goes on top of the frame rail here, and it goes to its home location there, and it is tied in with this harness right here. This grommet I had to cut off from the harness and use it back on the firewall to prevent, you know, anything from going inside, especially water. I should have taken a picture of how I did the routing underneath the dashboard here, but this harness right here goes to the fuse box and is tied in with all of the headlight harness. What I did with this harness was I split the loom to pull out the wiring harness for the headlight, to separate it from the fuse box plugs, to be able to route the fuse box back into the engine bay while having enough length to pull this harness for the headlight through the frame rail to go back to the front. We still have all the ECU plugs right here. I kind of tucked it out of the way to do the carpet, but we're going to be needing this real soon. And then I want to say the tower plugs are actually sitting on top of the AC duct. I don't know if you can see the harness up there. That's just tucked up there for now. And then the headlight harness, I actually ran it through the frame rail for the plug that goes to the door. And I got to figure something out with this, because I believe this is the wiring for the speakers, but there's nothing on this side. We'll figure that out for a later time, but you can see the headlight harness is running through the same hole. I am gonna cut the grommet to make sure it fits nice and snug to ensure water also doesn't go inside, but cutting the loom allows me to pull this back further. You can see how it's fully exposed here instead of being all wrapped up. It allowed me to pull it further out and bring all the wire closer to the front to prevent me from extending too many wires too long. You know what I mean? Like, if I can get these wires as close to the home location as possible, I don't have to extend them much, and most of them will actually even reach their destination. So what I got to do today is figure out what this bundle of wires are, and then route them to their correct home location and then mount it up. The driver's side is practically the same. The headlight harness comes around, goes over the motor mount, and then it goes to its home location. What I did was I pulled it through the firewall here through this grommet hole, and then I split the loom to feed the headlight harness through the same hole for the speakers, and with it cut out of the loom, all of the plugs almost goes to their home location. So that means not a lot of wires to extend, but I got to figure out what all these loose ones are. But aside from that, the EGs are pretty straightforward, pretty simple to do. And like I've said before, I've only wire tucked this car probably twice, and both times didn't take long at all. Okay, so this is the ground junction box. This gets bolted to the frame rail to make sure that all of these wires get its ground source. This one right here looks to be the corner lamp. It has the 3 wires in it, the green, yellow, which turns on and off. We have the red, which is constant, which is like the parking light, and then we got the black for the ground. Unfortunately, there's no socket for this, so I'm just gonna have to extend it and then get a socket from the junkyard, because they are different from the EFs. This one right here is for the headlights. I'm very familiar with the plug and the color of the wiring. We use the same one on the JDM EF headlights for our cars. This is probably for the horn button. I'm probably gonna put a horn on here just to see if this works, because it'll be nice for, like, you know, roll racing or something. But based off the color wiring, the white, blue, and the blue, red, this is for the horn. And then this one is probably for the fan because of the plug style and also the coloring on it, the black, red, and the black, brown. This one right here, I have no idea what it is. It wasn't plugged to anything, and I've never seen it before, so I'm just gonna let it sit and tuck underneath the fender well. Guys, I literally cannot feel my fingers right now, but nonetheless, we got the left and right side wire tuck mostly done. And I say mostly because I have these two wires right here and I don't know what it belongs to. and it is an odd color, black with a green stripe. I have no idea what that is or what the function is, so I have to do some research. But for the most part, we have the driver's side fully wire tucked, and I did move the hood latch cable underneath inside the frame rail just so that it's out of the way of the harness. And the passenger side, let me show you really quickly, is also done. This side is mainly complete other than not having the plug for the corner lamp. So what I did was I already kind of pre-loomed it, and there are wires in here that comes out to about there, so I can just peel it back and then put a plug on it, and then it should be long enough to go into the corner lamp. So this plug, again, I don't know what it is. We have the headlight going underneath, plugged up right there, and then we have the horn. I thought I had a horn here, but I don't, so I'll have to grab a horn sometimes later to plug it up right there. And then this right here is the fan, which goes all the way to the other side, and that's going to plug into the fan there. Right here we have the ground sanded down and bolted up with a 10 mil so that it has a good connection. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 zip ties holding this into place. Now, a lot of people who do wire tuck for the EGs, they typically cut a hole through the side here and feed the harness this way and pretty much just route it along the frame rail like so, or even inside of this to come out here and plug it up to where they're supposed to go. I ran the wiring harness on the outside of the rail because I wanted it to be easily accessible for, you know, later down the road if there's like a break or a short or burnt, or, you know, if it got into a car accident, it slices it, whatever. It's all accessible from just pulling the fender off. This grommet here, I cut it on the bottom in case rain comes down this way. It's not going to go into the car as if I was to cut it from the top. So I cut it from the bottom so it kind of just drizzles over, and I did the same for the other side. Everything is all sleeved and loomed up with electrical tape, so this is going to be kind of weatherproof because we don't have any fender lining, so when the car gets driven in the rain or whatever, water is going to kick up. I am missing a bolt right there. I did say in this video that I wanted to put the entire front end back on the car, but first I had to do the wire tuck. I decided to not put the front end on just yet because I just realized that I don't have the fender braces or brackets that goes from here and then the fender bolts to that. So I'm gonna have to go to the storage because I do have it, and then I'm gonna go and get them, paint them, throw them on, and then we'll throw the fenders and the rest of the front end on, except the bumper because we got some fun things to do with the bumper off. Super cold right now. It's about 45 degrees. I am going to wrap it up for tonight, and we'll pick up with you guys tomorrow. It is the next day, guys, and obviously super dark out. The reason for that is because I went to the junkyard this morning, which you guys should have seen previously, and I went to go grab some things for the car that I've just been itching to go grab because I wanted to grab them before all the EJs and EGs are gone. And then after that, we went to the storage unit to grab the fender bracket. This ties the fender to the frame rail to the headlights. These are already nice and scuffed down, so I'm just going to put some black on here, let them dry up, and then we're going to throw the whole entire front end on the car. And while these brackets are drying, I am going to wire in the corner lamp socket because I also did grab this as well. I also grabbed an extension for the wiper motor plug. This right here, I have to extend this from inside the car to route it back out so that way we can bring it up and then plug it into that right there. Okay guys, so we are inside the car and we're underneath the dashboard. This harness right here goes to the wiper motor, and you can see it has the grommet that goes through the firewall before it plugs up. There's another grommet in here somewhere that goes on the firewall where the headlight harness was going through. It's right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. What I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to cut this off the harness just so I can use it to plug the firewall and have just this harness running through it. And the reason for that is because we're not going to be using whatever this is anymore, and we're only needing this guy. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and extend it right here inside the car, and then I'm going to route it outward, and I'll show you guys after. It's a weird angle for me to sit in, granted how big I am in this small little area. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get that knocked out real quick. I have the wiper motor harness plugged in, grommet down low, harness runs across. We have a little clip right here holding it in place, and the rubber grommet, I cut off the harness to close up that hole. This is pretty much done. The wire tuck for the car is practically done as well too. These two wires right here that I mentioned in the previous clip goes to the windshield wiper fluid reservoir, which sits normally right here, and that two wire is for the little motor that goes onto that. So I'm just going to seal it off, tuck it away because we're not using it obviously. And now let's go ahead and put the front end back on. The front end only consists of the fender, the bracket, and just the lights, because the bumper still needs to be off. It just started downpouring again, guys, and I just finished putting the entire front end back together. Bumper is loosely put on there because, like I said, we need the bumper still off and on the car, and we have the garage closed now. There was some part of the wire tuck portion that I didn't cover, which I mentioned was the fuse box for the underhood. And if you guys are doing this in your own car and listening to what I'm saying, I'm sure you guys can understand what I was talking about. This is the third time I've done this chassis, and it is a lot simpler than the EF. The driver's side of the car, literally all you had to do was run it all the way in, cut the loom off of it, run it out, and run it to its home location. It's a tight, snug fit, but all the plugs actually fit into their home locations. But if you really wanted to, you could extend them. Now, the passenger side, I had to extend a lot because of all of the wiring job that was done on it before. So I had to correct and then extend because of how shortened it was. But I'm almost certain that the passenger would have been just as long as the driver to go to his home locations, aside from maybe the fan plug. The lamp is making my face super lit up right now, and I apologize for that. But the wire tuck job for the 9295 Civic sedan, hatch, and coupe is pretty straightforward, pretty simple to do. It may be a little more complex if you decide to put the underhood fuse box in the glove box, which is a very common thing to do. I want easy accessibility, so I left it in the engine bay, but that is entirely up to you guys of where you want to locate it in your car. If you guys want to do a wire tuck on your 9295 Civic, I hope this video kind of helps you a little bit. Do keep note that if you are doing this for the first time or you're not too familiar with wiring, cut the wires one at a time. One at a time. Take pictures. It helps to remind you what color went to what and does what and where it goes. But take your sweet time doing it. I am going to wrap it up right here, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for more progress update on the Project Blueberry, I think I'm doing the suspension next. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.